are mine now. You belong to me. Today we're going to play a new fun game.
Yo! 3, 2, 1. Welcome.
Welcome to the Twin Peaks podcast. My name is Abe Froman. Chicka chicka. Oh, come on, I've said my name. It's your turn to say a name. What name are you going to say?
Patricia.
Patricia. All right. Abe Froman and Patricia Ginsberg coming at you from the Twin Peaks podcast. This is our friendship episode. We're going to be talking about Hustlers and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. After that, we're going to be picking our topic and our films for next week. And the final section is Stitch Up, where one of us has to watch a terrible film. And this week it's me again. And I talk to Zoombies. Before we get to any of that, we just have a little chat about whatever we want. How the devil have you been?
I've been pretty crazy this week. I've just started a new job, so just learning the system. But I feel like I think I've finally got there today. So yeah, my week's been good. Bit of an update with DNA heritage testing thing. It's at the lab. So hopefully in about a week or so, I can let you guys know what my heritage is. So, you know, if I'm like 2% Chuck Norris, 80% Maltese. So, yeah.
That's something to look forward to, isn't it? I thought that's quick. I thought it was going to take like 6 months.
I guess you thought it was going to be like a message in a bottle and I had to slowly go to the US through the seas.
I was thinking that a message in a bottle would probably be quicker than the current postal service. So
that's actually quite true, I feel.
So next week you'll be able to update us on the Halloween episode.
Hopefully, yeah, that would be amazing. How you been, mate?
Not too bad. Just been doing the same old thing, really, watching a load of films, going out for little walks and applying for lots of jobs, which is basically my life at the moment. But films are keeping me sane. I've watched a big old chunk of films again. 12, I think I've done this week, actually. I started off by... I listened to a few podcasts about Scientology, and then I fell down a Scientology rabbit hole, and I watched interviews with David Miscavige and Tom Cruise and podcasts about Dianetics and L. Ron Hubbard, and that might come up again later because there is a reason I've sort of been falling down that rabbit hole. But that's been really interesting. So it's been difficult to peel myself away from that to watch films, but I still managed to watch 12 films. I've
been to the first ever opening for the Scientology, I guess, church or whatever they call it here in Melbourne. I was working with a... Sorry?
You done what?
Well, you were talking about Scientology before, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you've never told me this story.
It was a really random job, and my boss is like, "Oh, so this is secret gig, and I can't tell you about it until like literally like a day or 12 hours beforehand." I was like, "All right, cool." And then I was like thinking, oh, you know, there's Logies is like the TV awards that we have here in Australia. I was like, oh, maybe it's that, or you know. And then she told me it was the Scientology opening in Melbourne. I was like, oh, this could be interesting. It was a bit bizarre with certain things. I won't go into too much detail.
No, I was secret. I mean, did you have to get audited before you went in? Did you check your engrams?
I think they were kind of like talking about it with us, and then maybe thinking that we would maybe sign on to be really? Part of the church.
Or did you just sign that billion-year contract?
They probably looked at my bank account and be like, "Oh, it's not really worth it."
You're probably right. Oh, she could only get up to level 4. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Why have you never told me this? Why have you never told me this? We work for a cult. Oh.
No,
this podcast's going to get banned, isn't it? It's going to get removed. If this gets removed, then you know it's all true. They're listening.
Side story to Scientology. That's mine.
Yeah, very much so. Well, I haven't got any cults to talk about, but I did. Yeah, I watched 12 films. So I started off with Halloween 2018, a new Halloween. I watched
Nice.
it and then listened to the Gore Press episode because their last one was Halloween. So I like to do that
Yes.
sometimes. Watch the film and then listen to an episode of a podcast about it. And then I watched a film called The Social Dilemma, and this was more of a documentary, really.
Yes, on Netflix.
Yeah, and it was kind
I've
of
been
like
meaning-
documentary mixed with actors dramatization.
Right.
Actually, do you know Booksmart? You know the nerdy geeky kid who's the party dude who has the house the party on a boat.
Yeah.
He was in that documentary as one of the dramatized fictionalized characters. I put it on by chance, and it was because it's kind of about social media, isn't it?
How it sucks you in, and also how much even your Google search, it will put certain ads and whatever. Yeah, I've been meaning to watch this doco. I will watch it soon enough. A lot of people have told me about it.
The main reason I put it on, it was late at night. I was scrolling through, and I thought, I want to put this on because then I can make a joke on a podcast about turning it off because there was something going on Instagram or something. But honestly, I started watching it and I thought it was really quite interesting, the way it was done. I'm not usually a fan of when they do dramatizations in these documentaries and stuff. I don't hugely enjoy it, but it was done really well, and it was used to explain some concepts. Worked for me. It was really good. I'd recommend giving it a watch if you're mildly interested.
Is it also the amount of how much you're how many hours and whatever you're spending on it? It talks about that as well. Or not really?
Kinda. It just really goes into details about how the things are designed to keep you engaged. So if you haven't been on for a while, then maybe you get a little notification that says, oh, so and so has popped up because you've spent a long time looking at those pictures or something like that, so it knows what's going to suck you in. It's kind of common sense, really, when you think about it. You've just got to assume that your phone is always listening. Just don't do any weird shit. But it still doesn't mean you want to be sort of watched and be on constant surveillance. It does feel a bit intrusive, to say the least, but it's the world we live in. If we want to use these smartphones at the moment, what are the options? Hopefully it changes. But either it's use your phone responsibly as you can, or throw it in the river.
And just get a brick phone instead.
Get a brick phone.
Yeah.
And then I moved on to Pet Sematary because I finished the book.
Ooh,
I finished the book,
yeah.
and the book was great. And I watched the remake, 2019 remake, I think it was. 2020 now, isn't it? Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, of course it is. How could I forget? The film weren't great. It felt very rushed, which is probably a common complaint against adaptations. It had some good ideas. It was kind of bold. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but it kind of was bold. It made a bold. I just keep coming back to the word bold. Just say bold. But yeah, I hated the ending. I thought it was terrible. Overall, not great. Newsflash: the book is better. Then I watched The Good Woman is Hard to Find, which was very good. I recommend that. Then I thought I would give Spider-Man Far From Home another go because I saw it at cinema. I didn't enjoy it very much, and I still didn't enjoy it very much. So might be watching that again. Just Mercy, courtroom drama with Jamie Foxx and Michael B. Jordan. That was really good. Yeah, really interesting, heartbreaking story.
True story?
And done really well. Yes, true story.
Wow.
About a dude on death row who is innocent, and about the kind of hoops that everyone had to jump through to try and get him out. A couple more films. I watched Come to Daddy with Elijah Wood, which was very good. I watched a film called Ma. It was all right. Don't pay to watch it. Wait for it to come on streaming somewhere.
It is on streaming.
Oh, is it?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's on Prime here in Oz.
Okay. Well, I'll watch it then if it's on Prime. But
yeah,
see what you think of it. I wasn't blown away by it. Oh, what else did I watch? Oh, Richard Attenborough, A Life on Our Planet. That was good. That's on Netflix. What have you been consuming?
Not a lot this week because I've been crazy busy. I'll make up for it next week.
I don't care. I don't care what you watch and don't watch.
I need to get to 300, which I think
Oh, yeah.
I could easily get to it in a couple of weeks. I'm always giving myself the challenge now to do 365 or 66 technically.
Well, what are you up to now?
I watched 6 films this week.
So you're up to 283.
Yeah, something like that. I don't consider Hustlers as a film because I've already watched it this year. No,
don't
it's
consider it
because
as a film?
I'm not like you with your list. You've done rewatches, and all of my
Yeah.
list is just one-time watch.
God, you bring this up every time we talk about the
I
list.
know.
I
this
don't
is
put
not-
on rewatches. I don't put on. I know.
I think that's just my letterbox system that I've got at the moment. Next year, I'll get a proper Excel sheet and type them down. That's probably what you've got, I'm guessing.
Oh, you've done it on. No, I haven't got a spreadsheet for this one, unfortunately. But you're doing it on Letterboxd. That's a good idea. I didn't think to do that.
Yeah, I've got like a 2020 list, which is public, so anyone can see it. Okay, things that I've watched this week. Last night, because I was doing just organizing software on my computer, I needed something easy, so I watched A Walk to Remember.
This sounds familiar. What's this?
I mentioned it briefly because when we did the short film app and we were talking about Return of Superman, I mentioned Mandy Moore, and she's in this film. And you're like,
Right.
and I go, it's romance, and you're like, oh yeah, no. Talking to one of our fans because they had watched it this week or maybe the previous week, and we're like, oh, I wonder what Dan would feel if we put it on Stitch Up. So it may come on Stitch Up. We'll see.
Is it bad?
It's just corny romance. Who knows? You might like it.
Well, if I'd have said Boris Johnson would be the Prime Minister 5 years ago, mate, I'd never have believed myself. So, stranger things can happen.
Yeah, a few of my films have just been a few easy watches this week. Another one was Crazy Stupid Love, which classic. Yeah, love that film. Surprisingly, hadn't watched it this year. It was the first time watching it.
God, I've even watched it this year.
50-50.
Oh, you watched it?
Yeah, I ended up watching that film. Obviously, Ferris Bueller, which we'll talk about in a sec. And then I watched a mini-series called the Salisbury Poisoning, which happened a couple of years ago in your country. Do you remember that case, 2 Russian people, and they got poisoned, and then the whole of Salisbury got contaminated?
I remember something about Russian poisoning, but that's as far as my memory, as far as I can remember.
Well, this is the thing, because all I remember a couple of years ago that I heard, oh yeah, there was some poisoning of just these 2 individuals, and I didn't realize that it spread throughout the community because when they cleaned up their sick, it went into the draining system, and it kind of spread in a way like that. Also, there was a police officer who went to the house to, investigate how this happened. And because he touched the doorknob, he then, throughout the house, he contaminated it, and he was quite ill. Out of the people who got sick from it, there was only 1 death, which is quite amazing because it is very topical because, what's happening in the world at the moment and how,
what's happening?
This COVID, dickhead.
Silly me. Sorry, I am being a dickhead here. It's topical. It's topical.
It's very topical because it's amazing how it was quite easily spread as well. It's lucky that, there was only 1 death, which was very unfortunate, which happened a few months later in a different suburb because it was a perfume bottle that they found in a dumpster, and I think that had the poison in it, and she sprayed it on herself, and she got really, So yeah, it's a 4-part series on SBS On Demand here in Australia, and it was quite good. I think it's a BBC project. It might be on BBC iPlayer for you guys, maybe.
Awesome. Let's move on to section 2 then and talk about our topic. Our topic is friendship. We're going to be talking about Hustlers and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. As you chose the topic last time, it's your turn to do an intro. We don't always do it. We have done. I'm just saying that since we've introduced it, we haven't missed a week yet. So there's a little bit of pressure. Have you prepared anything for us today?
I've prepared a couple of little things with this week's
Oh.
topic. Oh. Instead of doing a quiz immediately, I thought I'll talk about a couple of Hollywood friendships. So Justin Timberlake and Ryan Gosling, they've known each other for like a good 20 years, and they met each other on the Mickey Mouse Club during the early 90s. They became really good mates, and Gosling had a few issues with his citizenship. So he stayed with Timberlake for a period of time. So
He's Canadian,
really
isn't he,
got some-
Gosling?
yeah.
Mm.
I'm surprised there's like a citizenship problem. I mean, going from the States to Canada or vice versa.
You would think it would be easier, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it would be like, New Zealand and Oz, or
Yeah.
the UK and Scotland or something.
Thank God you said Scotland. I thought he was going to say France. Like, no, don't go topical.
No,
Don't go political.
No Brexit talk. No Brexit
Yeah.
talk. Next one is Leonardo DiCaprio and Tony Maguire.
Toby Maguire.
Oh, what did I say?
Tony. Although I do prefer Tony Maguire.
Those gents met like a good 25 years ago, and they used to go to auditions together. And then Keira Knightley and Sienna Miller, they met on The Edge of Love. Don't believe I've seen that film before.
I don't believe I have either. Have you got any stories about people that were friends but then became mortal enemies and now fight each other every year in a tournament?
No, do you?
No.
Oh. And then the last one is also with Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. Obviously, those two met when Titanic on that film, and they've been quite good friends ever since. And when Kate Winslet got married secretly, Leo walked her down the aisle. Now I've got a little quick quiz for you to see what you know about me, and this is film-based stuff.
I knew this was coming.
But get this, hold on. There's a bit of a twist, and it will work to your advantage. So there's 5 questions.
Okay.
And a few of these questions I think you would know instantly. If you get a question, if I tell you a question and you know the answer, you get 2 points. If you go to multiple choice and get it correct, you only get 1 point. If you get 6 points, there's an advantage to Stitch Up, which will be it's not for this week, but going forward, if you lose a film 1 week and you're like, I don't want to watch this film, so you have to watch your film, Nicole.
Oh.
Then I'll have to watch the Stitch Up film that week. Make it a bit fun.
You've raised the stakes.
Yeah. All right. Question 1. You should get this one. What was the first film that I saw in cinema?
Ever?
Yeah. I know that Ghostbusters is your first ever film.
Yeah.
Does that jot your memory if I say that?
Why would that jog my memory? I know what my first film was. Why would it jog my memory if you reminded me what my first film was?
No, because when I was a guest on your show, I mentioned what my first ever film I watched.
I can't remember that far back, mate. That was over a year ago.
All right. Well, let's go multiple choice.
Go on.
I remember yours, at least. Okay. So it was either Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, or Lion King.
Lion King.
Correct. That's 1 point to Dan. Which actor did I have a crush on when I was younger?
Henry Cavill.
Was he around when I was younger?
Yeah.
Was it Matt Damon, Brad Pitt, or Leonardo DiCaprio?
I'm going to say DiCaprio.
Correct.
Okay, that's good.
That's good. That's 2 points. That I've never told you that.
How am I meant to get it then?
Well, that's only 2 points if you get it. I thought you would have got the first one, the Lion King one.
You expect too much.
What was my first job title in the media industry?
I guess if I just said like art department runner. or assistant?
No, that's incorrect. I'll give you multiple choice. The options are photographer's assistant, art department, or accounts clerk.
Oh, photographer's assistant.
Yeah, that was my first ever. I interned with a photographer, so technically no for that one. But maybe I'll be nice. We'll see.
You're making me feel very bad. Am I a bad friend?
No, you're not. You might get this one for 2 points. What was my first ever television show that I worked on as an art department assistant?
Neighbours.
That was the last art department job
Oh,
that I
shit.
ever had. Multiple choice. Multiple choice. Neighbours, House Husbands, or Glitch?
I'm going to say House Husbands.
Correct. I did 3 seasons with House Husbands.
Bloody hell.
I interned on that job, and then they got me for the next 2 seasons, so that was a bit of fun. Last question.
This is the last question.
Yeah.
I can't win now, can I? I can't get the 6 points.
Technically not. Maybe I'll be kind. We'll see.
Can we make this like all or nothing? Winner takes
All
all.
right, let's do that. Let's do that. I'll be. Let's do that. Why not? How many films or TV productions have I worked on as an art assistant, not including seasons?
I'm gonna pull a number out my ass.
Are you? You don't want to
Yeah.
go multiple choice. This is all or nothing, remember?
Oh yeah. All right. Oh yeah. Multiple choice then.
I think I've technically got this wrong, but
If you can't get it right, what bloody hope have I got?
no, but I'm going to go with the initial number that I've got on here. Okay, so 4, 6, or 8?
4.
Incorrect.
As an art department assistant, very specifically that job title.
Yeah. Technically 8.
I would have been wrong anyway because the number I was going to pull out my ass was 4. Well, I'm going to look on your IMDb to confirm this after we've recorded. I think this whole quiz is a fix. I demand a recount. Florida wasn't counted properly. It's a farce, and I'm very
You're not getting that. You're not getting that extra advantage.
Well, fuck you back. Shall we? All right,
Our
mate.
friendship is fucked after this quiz.
Clearly. So on next week's topic, it's going to be Mortal Enemies double bill, where we watch 2 films about 2 people that fucking hate each other. That used to be friends, but now just can't stand each other.
I honestly thought you were going to get that.
Sorry. All right, okay. Let's move on to the next bit, and where we've actually got to talk about a couple of films. We're going to be talking about Hustlers and Ferris Bueller's Day Off as part of our friendship topic, and I think we should start with Hustlers.
Let's do Hustlers. Let's hustle some men and take advantage of their cashola.
Let's drug them with a mixture of MDMA and ketamine. And then if we put on a couple of really sort of saucy low-cut dresses and then take them to a nightclub, we can take their bank card. It never worked with it.
But it did.
But it did. Hustlers came out in 2019, quite a recent film for us. Don't usually do them. But it was directed by Lorene Scafaria. It's 107 minutes long, and it felt a lot longer than 107 minutes long, I must admit. So the synopsis is a crew of savvy former strip club employees band together to turn the tables on their Wall Street clients. The cast is Constance Wu as Destiny or Dorothy, Jennifer Lopez as Ramona, Julia Stiles as Elizabeth, and Keke Palmer as Mercedes. And as you mentioned last week, Cardi B is in it, and now I know what Cardi B looks like. So the budget was $21 million, and the box office was $157 million.
Wow. It did all right.
It did all right, didn't it, actually? It did all right. Constance Wu, it's her character, Dorothy, Destiny, working in a strip club, and it's kind of set before the economic crash and after it, mostly after, and about how they sort of try to maintain a living after that crash, after guys stopped coming in and spending money, I guess. They sort of decided to start scamming them and drugging them.
And it's also about the friendship between Destiny and Ramona.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I have to say, like, I didn't love this film, but at least it was a good pick because the central theme is about their friendship. And the story is a very interesting story as well. And particularly like how it's kind of the backdrop is the economic crash, which we mentioned. It's a very nice parallel to run this story alongside. Lorene Scafaria, she also wrote the screenplay off the back of reading an article. I think it was in the New York Times. It was written by Jessica Pressler. I think I've written that down correctly. But Lorene had read this article and she decided to write a screenplay. So it's inspired by that article. So like we were talking last week about true stories, how much of it is true, how much of it is embellished, how much of it is perspective, how much of it is artistic license. It's still a very interesting story. I'm glad that it made a lot of money. Like I would like to see more stories told in this way with all like female leads, female director, great. You know, we need more. And I'm glad that it did well. So while I didn't love it, I am glad that it kind of got a good reception. Like, I'll tell you my main reason I didn't love it, right, is the music.
Yeah.
I fucking hated the music. I hated it. And that's a really trivial thing, but it really bothered me. So
you're not a big fan of Usher?
Oh, God, why would you remind me of that bit? And that song, in the club.
The director wrote his character into this film, so I guess that's not a completely true part of the story. But he was happy to be a part of it, and you know, apparently he brought his own chain and shades and jackets from that era. They had a few musicians, so obviously Cardi B was another one, and Lizzo, who was the more
A to the Izzo, E to the Lizzo, or whatever. What am I saying?
She's the more fuller dancer.
Okay.
According to IMDb, they shot those three characters that are featured on this film in the one day. Quite a lot, considering, because Cardi B, she features in it a little bit more than Lizzo and Usher.
She only had like one or maybe two extra scenes though, didn't she?
Yeah, but that's still like usually a film you only shoot like 7 minutes or 6. Is it more? Maybe it's less than that per day.
I've no idea actually, mate. Is that the rule of thumb? Is it?
Yeah, usually something like that. Mind you, this film was shot in 29 days on a low budget, which is what you've just said. So maybe that is correct.
Who knows? Maybe they just worked a 25-hour day.
Yeah, I wanted to know what you thought of this film because when I initially saw it earlier this year, I also didn't love it. Also, when I hear reviews and like, oh my God, this film, Hustlers, and you know, there's a lot of, as you said, a lot of mention about it in the Oscars and around that season. And I watched it and I was like, oh, it's all right. But then I watched it this second time and I was like, oh, it's actually quite funny. It's basically a female-based film, which is great. It's fantastic.
It is great. And I was thinking about this as well. Like, I couldn't think of a single male character that's either like a good person or is not a moron. Like, they're all idiots. Like the bloke who jumps off the roof in the house.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they had drugged him, to be fair. So
yeah. So, like, he wasn't in the right state of mind. I guess the last guy who... I guess he was kind of a more innocent kind of guy, but at the same time, I guess he used to go to the clubs as well, and maybe was a bit...
It's a bit sketchy, maybe, in some way. I mean, who knows? I mean, you're right. You are right, though. Like, I was thinking there were no male characters that were kind of presented in a nice way. I'm not complaining about that. I don't give a shit. I just thought it was interesting. But I'm wrong, I think, because like you say, he was quite an innocent sort of character, wasn't he? Or he seemed to be. He was presented that way. I'm really surprised they didn't serve any jail time, I don't think. Well, on the end of the film, it said that a couple of them, one or two of them, did a weekend jail time, I think. I can't remember who it was, but I think didn't the main two, Ramona and Destiny, they escaped jail time entirely, I think. And I can't remember their real names. I know the real Ramona. I know her real name is Samantha Barbush, because I've watched a couple of interviews, actually. She was not happy about this film at all. She hated it.
That's interesting.
She didn't want Jennifer Lopez playing her, or this. She said that she would prefer to have Cardi B. Actually, funnily enough, I think her complaint seemed to be more about how her character was presented. So she wasn't very happy about the drug scene that we mentioned earlier. She said, no, that was made up. That never happened. She's actually filed a lawsuit against Jennifer Lopez's production company, not Jennifer Lopez personally, for $40 million, which I think is kind of ongoing at the moment. So she pissed.
Let's hope she doesn't listen to this podcast and sue us as well.
Yeah. Fucking hell. Well, we ain't got 40 million quid, mate, have we? If you have my contents in my penny jar, I get about £4.50.
Yeah.
Hustlers. I thought it was a very good film. But I fucking hated the music and it totally ruined it for me. And that's trivial, I know, but just for my own enjoyment, I can't give this. This is a 7.
I also agree with you. I think this is a 7 out of 10 film.
But let's move on to Ferris Bueller, shall we?
Classic, yes.
Hey, bada, so wing, bada. So wing, bada. Life moves pretty fast, Nicole. Doesn't it?
It does.
I ain't seen this in years and I really enjoyed watching it again.
Me too.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So Ferris Bueller's Day Off, it came out in 1986 and it was directed by John Hughes. It's 103 minutes long. The tagline on Letterboxd is "One man struggled to take it easy." It's about a kid that bunks off school for a day and he takes his mate with him and his girlfriend and they go off into Chicago in his friend's dad's car. Matthew Broderick plays Ferris Bueller, Alan Ruck plays Cameron, and Mia Sara plays Sloane. Sloane, hello, Sloane, dear. Matthew Broderick, I mean, I don't think there's anyone else that could have played Ferris Bueller, really. He's perfect in that role. Apparently, before he did Ferris Bueller, he did another role, or another couple of roles, where he'd speak to the audience during a play. So he was used to doing that. It did feel very natural. Obviously, Deadpool does it quite well. Deadpool references Ferris Bueller as well.
Yeah. I remember that. When I watched that scene, he just gets out of the shower, doesn't he? And I saw that scene, I'm like, oh yeah, that's in Deadpool.
Yeah. Have you heard the I was going to say conspiracy theory, but it's about a film. You can't really call anything about a film a conspiracy theory, can you? It's just someone putting far too much thought into Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Apparently, there's a theory going around that everything is in Cameron's head. So he's made up Ferris Bueller. It's like an imaginary friend because he's so repressed, just nervous and neurotic. He's created this imaginary person that can do anything and is really popular and, like charming because he's the complete opposite of that. And it's a fun thing to think about, isn't it?
It could be a theory. No, I know. I've never heard of this. I've never heard of it until you've just mentioned it now. So I may have to watch Ferris Bueller and analyze it again to see what I think about that theory.
It might be interesting to watch it with that thought because there's a few things that happen in it, like when he's in bed and
there's all these pills and drugs and whatever. Yeah.
Take my Cameron home. He's like speaking to Ferris on the answer phone, and they finish the call because Ferris says to Cameron, come on over and pick me up, and Cameron says no, and then the conversation ends. And then Cameron says, I feel really sick or something like that. And then the phone rings again and he says, you're not sick. You just can't think of anything good to do.
Yeah. So that theory kind of makes sense in like those little aspects.
That's what I mean. There are things that happen in this film. And to be honest, I think that John Hughes probably just put that in because it's funny. I haven't watched this. Yeah, I said I haven't watched this in probably over 10 years. And I completely forgot actually. But as you know, the house.
Where he lives? Or?
Ferris Bueller's house. So where he's set up all of his stuff. All of his fake snoring and stuff. I've been to that house.
You've been to the house?
Yeah, I haven't been inside it. But yeah, I've been to the house. It's in Long Beach. In California, but I spent about 2 hours dragging my mates around trying to find this house, and we saw it, took a photo.
Brilliant.
Like, all right, I'm done now because it's just a house. Someone just lives there, and it's weird. Like go and take photos of it. I bet they get it all the time.
How did you find it? Is it just like a regular thing that you can find online, or?
Yeah, just Google like movie filming locations, or be more specific. I think I was looking for that house specifically because I'd
Yeah.
heard that it was in California, and when I was going to California, I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to try and find this house then.
So you know the parade scene, which
Mm.
I love that scene. It's a lot of
It's a
fun.
good scene.
You know, you see cutaways, you know, of the window cleaners dancing, and you know,
Yeah.
other parts of the crowds, you know, having a bit of fun. Apparently, that wasn't initially in the film. They were just recording them dancing to the music in the background, and they thought, oh, this would be a bit of fun, so they added that in,
Yeah.
as well as that scene at the start where Ferris picks up a clarinet and starts playing it. He's like, oh yeah, I know clarinet really well.
Yeah.
And someone on set just found this clarinet, and Matthew Broderick was like, oh yeah, I know how to play clarinet. And obviously he didn't, and it was perfect. So that was all improv. So
Brilliant.
that was kind of funny.
Apparently they knew each other. Matthew Broderick and Alan Ruck were working together, I think, when Broderick got the call for Ferris Bueller, which would explain some of the chemistry and stuff and the improvisation, how they were able to sort of improvise so well. I obviously loved this film as a kid, so I was always really surprised when in the 90s you didn't see much of Matthew Broderick or Alan Ruck really. I remember one or two things that Broderick was in, but Alan Ruck really, I only remember him popping up in Speed and Old Darn and Spin City. He was in that sitcom with Michael J. Fox, which I used to enjoy that actually. Did you used to watch that?
Yeah, I did. And then Michael J. Fox's character changed with Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, that does sound right. Yeah, I think I stopped watching it after that because I really enjoyed Michael J. Fox. Yeah, and I think Alan Ruck's character was quite a snarky character in it, and I remember quite enjoying it. You remember at the start of lockdown, you know, Josh Gad, he's been doing these reunion things with people on YouTube, and he gets old cast members from like Back to the Future and Ghostbusters, and he'd done Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And I'd heard about this a few months ago when he did it, but I have not watched any of them. But I watched one last night. I watched the Ferris Bueller one last night, and that was nice to see them all back together again. And they had everyone. They had Broderick, they had Alan Ruck, they had Mia Sara, they had Ferris Bueller's parents, who actually they
were an actual real couple. And they were married, and I think only recently, well, that they got divorced, but yeah, they were married when they shot this film.
They met on set.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I heard anyway. But it was quite amusing on the stream because when they said, "Oh, we've got Ferris Bueller's parents coming on now," and I was thinking to myself, "I wonder if they're going to be on the same Zoom call or whether they're going to have separate locations." And it was separate, so I was like, "Oh yeah, they've broken up then." Matthew Broderick was engaged to Jennifer Grey. Oh, we didn't mention Jennifer Grey, who's also in this film, who plays Jeannie, Ferris Bueller's sister,
who is in Dirty Dancing.
You can't put Baby in the corner.
Because
Baby will just fucking dance the shit out of everything and show she's not a baby.
That's been on Stitch Up, hasn't it?
Yes, that's been
Did you
done
have to watch
already.
It? Yeah.
Yes, I had to watch it. I don't have to ever watch it again. It's finished, mate. Finito. But yeah, Jennifer Grey, she's also in this. And she's great in this. She's brilliant in this as Jeannie, as the angry sister. But yeah, Matthew Broderick and Jennifer Grey had been engaged. I think they met on this film and they were engaged for a little bit afterwards. But it was fun to see them all on the Zoom call. And they even had the teacher. I want to say that his real name is Ben Stein. The Bueller. I couldn't remember if it's Eric or Ben. It's a Stein.
I'm pretty sure it's Ben.
And he wasn't an actor before this film. He was just kind of mates with someone. Did you hear this as well?
Well, I heard that his profession he was in economics, and in the class that he teaches is about that. So it's just about his general knowledge about this topic, and everyone's fucking bored by it.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Oh, I liked the other teacher as well. Do you know what I realised watching this film is how much I quote it, and I didn't even know. Know. Like the other teacher who's really boring as well, and he goes, "In what way?" And they'd do the same thing as they cut to the class, just looking completely bored, shitless, and dribbling and everything. I enjoyed all those classroom scenes, and it's kind of more realistic to what school was. I think I remember just sitting there, what felt like forever sometimes in geography, the teacher just saying things at you, and you're like, when is this going to end? Am I going to be here forever? It really captured that feeling quite well. So, yeah, no surprise really. I really enjoy this film. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. Everything works in this film. The characters, the actors, just it's while there's not much of a storyline, I find it very appealing and like easy to watch.
Simple storyline. Yeah.
You put it on in the background. I could watch individual scenes. I've held this film in high regard ever since I was a kid, so I just really enjoy it, and a nostalgia factor as well. So, like, it's a 9 out of 10 for me, like, no question.
I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10.
Let's move on from Ferris Bueller's Day Off to the next part, where we've got to pick our films for next week. And this time, it's my turn to choose the topic. As next week, our episode is going to be coming out, as technically our Halloween episode. It's going to be out like 5 days before Halloween or something like that. But we're going to call it our Halloween episode. So I wanted to go for something a bit darker. And I was talking earlier about having fallen down a Scientology rabbit hole. So put on your favourite robe, dust off your copy of Dianetics, and prepare a pubic pie as we choose films to watch. Well, I've got cults in. So I've got 3. You've got 3. We're going to knock 2 out of each other's list to come up with a final 1 each.
Cool.
Number 1 is The Endless.
Okay.
My second pick is Apostle. And my third pick is The Reef.
It's so not.
It's The Reef. It's a shark cult. It's a shark cult.
How is this a cult film?
Because they're mates that are also in a cult about sharks, and they go and they fall off into the river and in Shark River, Sharky Cult River.
BS, isn't it?
No, I'm joking.
Are you being serious? Oh, good.
My third pick is Midsummer. Of course, it's Midsummer. What else is it going to be? Fucking love that movie. Okay, what are your 3? What are you going for, mate?
I had Apostle and Midsummer on. I had quite a big list this week because I wasn't too sure what to go for with this topic. Yeah. Okay. I think. I'm going to go for. Oh. That's right. I'll watch that. Oh, I actually got Endless on here too.
I'll just sit here all day, shall I?
Okay, I'm ready.
Oh, no. All right. What you got? That's number 1. Come on, what you got?
Number 1 is Hereditary.
2 Ari Aster films on the list. Alrighty.
My second pick is Ritual. And number 3... I'll go with Us.
Let's do a recap then. So I've got The Endless, Apostle, and Midsummer, and you chose Hereditary, The Ritual, and Us. For once, I know all of your films, and I have seen all of your films.
And I have yet to see any of your films, but I've been meaning to watch Midsummer and Endless. I'm going to knock out Apostle. Don't ask me why, but
all right,
yeah.
I won't ask you.
Oh, two. No, I'm joking. What are you going to knock out of mine?
I'm going to knock out. I do know. I'm going to knock out Us. I really like Us. I think it's a really good film, but I don't think it's got a cult in it.
It doesn't?
Have you seen it? You've not seen it?
I've not seen it. I know it's from the makers of. We watched this film on the pod. Get Out. Yeah. Yeah,
it's Jordan Peele. Maybe it's saying too much to say that it's not got a cult in it, but it's I don't think it's cult. It's got a similar sort of. It's got culty vibes, but it's not culty.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Culty vibes.
Careful how many times you say culty. It might sound like something else, mate.
It's only one letter out, isn't it? Culterson. All right. So to recap then, we're now left with The Endless and Midsummer from my list, and Hereditary and The Ritual in your list. Okay, so The Endless, it came out in 2017. It's 112 minutes long. It was directed by Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson. And the synopsis reads, 2 brothers return to the cult that they fled from years ago to discover that the group's beliefs may be more sane than they once thought. Not seen anything quite like it before, and it's a good film. And my next pick was Midsummer. If you've got any questions about these, then just fire them away, because I have seen both of these, so I may be able to answer it.
No, it's fine. I kind of already know what I may choose, but
All right, I'll just burn through it then. Just formality at this point. Midsummer, directed by Ari Aster, 2019, 148 minutes long. The tagline on Letterboxd is "Let the festivities begin," and then the synopsis reads: several friends travel to Sweden to study as anthropologists, a summer festival that is held every 90 years in a remote hometown of one of them. What begins as a dream vacation in a place where the sun never sets gradually turns into a dark nightmare as the mysterious inhabitants invite them to participate in their disturbing festive activities.
I've been meaning to see this film. I remember seeing billboards last year for this film, and we've spoken about it at work, and it's on Prime here, so it's easy for me to watch this film. But I've just haven't had the moment to sit down and watch it. So
I know what you're choosing, but let's keep the illusion running. What films? Tell me about Hereditary.
Hereditary, directed by Ari Aster. It came out in 2018, 127 minutes long. Tagline is "Every family tree hides a secret," and synopsis is: when Helen, the matriarch of the Graham family, passes away, her daughter's family begins to unravel cryptic and increasingly terrifying secrets about their ancestry. If we talk about ancestry about me next week, might be interesting choosing this film. So, The Ritual, directed by David Bruckner, came out in 2017, 94 minutes long. Tagline is "Your darkest dream awaits you." And synopsis is: a group of college friends reunite for a trip to the forest, but encountered an immersing presence in the wood that stalks them.
I'm sort of torn between your two. Hereditary was directed by Ari Aster, which you mentioned, but he also directed Midsummer. So he did Hereditary and then did Midsummer the year after. I prefer Midsummer, but they're both good films.
Mm-hmm.
They're both really heavy films, tough to watch.
Yeah,
I think I've just talked myself into what way I'm going to go with yours. I'm going to knock out Hereditary. Number one, it's Ari Aster, and I don't want to do two Ari Aster films.
who says that I'm going Midsummer?
Oh, I'm sorry. You may not go Midsummer. Oh, of course. And the ritual is 94 minutes long, and
Yeah, so it's not as long.
It's not as long, and if you do happen to go for Midsummer, that is a long film. That's a 2.5 hour film.
Yeah.
Yeah. So time basically is my reasoning. So I'm knocking out Hereditary, and we're going to keep The Ritual. What are you going to go for out of mine? You got The Endless or Midsummer?
I've been meaning to watch Midsummer for quite some time, and even though it's bastard long, and I am struck for time a little bit. But yeah, I think this week I'm going to choose Midsummer.
All right, so you're going to knock out The Endless and keep Midsummer. Yeah. Awesome. So next week then, for our films with cults in, movies with cults theme, we'll word it later, we're going to be watching Midsummer and The Ritual. And also set aside a whole afternoon for Midsummer, and maybe arrange like a massage or some yoga for afterwards. Something that's going to relax you and put you in a good place mentally.
Just have a hot bath after watching this film and be like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, have a hot bath. Yeah. Honourable mentions. So I did something a little bit different this week. We've got our own Instagram page now, and I put a question out on a story, and I just said, well, what are some of your films that have got cults in that you like, that you want to mention? And so I'm just going to read out a couple of those suggestions. So Track Listing Podcast is a podcast that I listen to, and they suggested The Endless, which I chose, and Mandy, the Nicolas Cage film.
I've got that on my honourable mentions.
Have you?
Too. Yeah.
It's crazy. Have you seen it?
No, I might watch it this, because I feel like I don't have such a big horror. There's not many horror films that I've seen, so
you've got a gore hole. We established this a few weeks ago, didn't we?
Yes, I've got a massive gore hole.
Oh, that has tickled me. I'm gonna put that on the blurb, don't you? I'm gonna put that on the episode right up. That's going straight in the first bit.
Sorry. Sorry. Gore.
Gore.
Gore. Gore. That's that's gonna be a thing now. Should put that on a mug. Imagine that on a mug at work.
Yeah, I might get it for you. You've got to take it to work on your new job.
Yeah.
Oh dear. So you've got gore hole. We've just done 12 minutes on gore hole.
There's not many horror / gore films that I've seen, so
yeah.
And being Halloween, I'm going to try and watch as many as I can.
So we had a couple more suggestions. Both Rosie and Sarah from Radio Gore Press, they both suggested The Invitation.
Okay. Also got that on my list as well.
Yeah, I think you chose it a little while ago as one of our picks. It might have been single location, maybe, or
yeah,
something like that.
I think so.
And Film Foods, they also mentioned The Invitation. And I never heard of this one, but that they also mentioned a film called Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. I looked it up, and I've started doing what you did a little while ago, and I've created a Letterboxd account with all of these films in. So I'm going to do what you did, and I'm going to unlock it once this episode comes out. We'll try and get all of them in that list. That's all of the suggestions we got from the guys on Instagram. What honourable mentions did you have, mate?
We've mentioned Invitation and Mandy, Rosemary's Baby.
Never seen that.
It was on a cult list, so I wasn't 100% sure if it was or not, but I put it on as a possibility, as well as The Wicker Man.
Which version?
The 1973 version. So the Edward Woodchuck.
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck?
Could a woodchuck wood?
It depends how much woodchucking he could get done in. Like if you measure like an hour of woodchucking, you could probably estimate how much more you could woodchuck.
So much rambling this up.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. I've got to edit this bastard. What else you got?
That's it.
I've got a couple of my own ones. A couple of them we've already mentioned, but I'm just going to quickly reel off the ones that I had and really wanted to choose a couple of them. The Sacrament, Red State is a really good Kevin Smith film. I had The Ritual on there, The Master, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because of the stuff that happens in the end. And that's it. That's all of my honourable mentions for films with cults.
All right. Let's, I guess, move on to the stitchery, uppery part of this.
I lost a poll last week, just for a change, and I had to watch Zoombies. And Zoombies, it came out in 2016, and it's an asylum film, and it's 90 minutes long. So it had that going for it. It was quite short. It was directed by Glenn Miller, not that one. And the tagline on Letterboxd is Uncaged Undead. A synopsis reads, when a strange virus quickly spreads through a safari park and turns all the zoo animals undead, those left in the park must stop the creatures before they escape and zombify the whole city. Yeah, so I found this on Amazon Prime. They really love their asylum films. They seem to have every asylum film I ever searched. But it's great because I think Amazon's very much the place where our stitch-up films are going to be. The next one for you isn't on Amazon. It's somewhere else entirely, but we'll get to that. It made me laugh instantly. It made me laugh, right? Because the asylum logo comes up, and then just immediately they just had like monkey noises and like ooh, ah, 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 and like lion sounds immediately. And I thought this might be a classic. This might be another Mega Piranha, but it wasn't.
Good.
It was nowhere near as good. Fuck you. Just because I didn't know how many times you'd been an art department assistant. So yeah, I thought I was going to quite enjoy it, but I didn't in the end, unfortunately. It's about a wildlife park, a zoo, if you hadn't guessed that already, and murderous animals. So the first thing is we're introduced to a bunch of scientists that are working with this monkey, and obviously the monkey's been infected. Think sort of 28 days later, the start of that. Think 28 days later meets Jurassic Park. And yeah, so we're introduced to all these scientists who are carrying out these tests on monkeys, and they find out one of them's sick, blah, blah, blah. So the monkey just tears out someone's eyeballs. There were some all right kills in this. And initially, some of the CG on the monkeys I thought was all right. It weren't too bad until they sort of started interacting with the human characters. And then you could really see that it was a prop. Like you could really see, like it's like a puppet that they're just picked on. They're just like it's just flailing all over the place. Yeah, so it looks like they're holding a wet sock. But it's basically just about this wildlife park, and it's not open to the public yet. They've just been setting it up, and there's these group of interns on a bus, and they're making their way into the wildlife park. So you've got the setup. The first 20 minutes. You've got a setup of them coming into the park, introducing you to all of the park rangers and stuff. One of them, this is like after about 20 minutes, half hour. One of them, the main character, actually says, "This is not Jurassic Park," and I was thinking, no, this is not Jurassic Park, is it? It's definitely not Jurassic Park. I ain't got too much to say about this. Like I was kind of, like I said, I was kind of optimistic at the start, hoping that it was going to be an enjoyably bad film, but it just ended up being quite bad. And I think it was slightly better quality, like in terms of the filmmaking than Mega Piranha, but it was just a bit dull. Like the acting was flat. It felt quite serious, like they were trying to like build tension, and there weren't many funny moments in it. I feel like Mega Piranha, if you've got a scene in a film where you're kicking giant fish out of the air, you know that you're not taking it very seriously. And it should be the same with a film about zombie animals, but it did feel like it was taken a bit more seriously. And there's kind of like a Lara Croft character. She's like a park ranger, and she's called Leslie. There's a point in the film where there's another character called Rex, right? And he's another park ranger. But I swear there's a point where he's sacrificing himself that he refers to her as Lizzie, not Leslie. She's quite clearly called Leslie, because they're quite explicit. They do show you a name badge of everybody as they're introducing the characters, which I very much appreciate. But I reread it a couple of times. I'm sure he says Lizzie. It was kind of hard to hear, but I thought, is that like the best take that they had? But early on in the film, during the setup, we see a zip line, right? So it did quite a good job at the start of the film, the first half hour, of setting everything up, introducing characters, and then setting up like the zip line and various things they're going to use throughout the film. And I was really looking forward to what they were going to do with this zip line. Obviously, they're going to try and use it to escape. And at one point, the character, I think it's Rex, says, "No, under no circumstances can you use that zip line because it's not ready yet." Of course, they have to use it. What other choice have they got? And they get on the zip. Yeah. They get on the zip line, and it weren't worth the wait. A bit like this review, probably. But they get on the zip line, and they do close-ups of the rope. They had a lot of close-ups of the characters, and you could tell it was like a lot of green screen stuff. I've just written down for some reason Marsupial Meadows, which was the name of a section of the park. There were no stereotypical Australian hunters in this, which surprised me a lot, actually. Usually there is in a film like this. But it did have zombie giraffes, it did have zombie gorillas, it did have zombie monkeys, it had zombie koalas.
The drop bears. Yeah, that's technically a drop bear.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it had zombie drop bears in it. Struggle, bitey human, fatal accident, chest bursty, alien, but not alien, really a monkey scene. It wasn't the worst stitch up I've ever seen, but it's no Mega Piranha. I'm going to give it 2.5 Justice Leagues. I actually wrote down 3 Justice Leagues, to be honest with you. That's what I've got written down on my notes, but I'm just not very excited talking about it, so it can't be a 3. I can't. That's way too generous. 2.5 Justice Leagues, that's as much as it gets. Well, let's move on then, shall we? Because I don't want to talk about Zoombies anymore. Let's move on to the poll.
To be fair, I forgot to vote, and I haven't looked at the poll since I've done it, so I've got no clue who has won or lost. Give me one sec.
No clue?
No, I'm actually being completely honest. I think I was too distracted with important things. No, the poll is very important.
How dare you?
So, oh, wow, okay. Does it tell me who voted?
You love keeping me in suspense, don't you?
So there was a total of 8 votes, and it was a landslide.
Well, what are the films? I can't remember what films we.
Oh yeah, of course.
Had for each other.
So I picked for you Romance on the Menu.
Oh God, that was.
And you picked, and for me you chose Birdemic, which initially I had this on my stitch up list for you. And the person who suggested it for me to give to you has voted against me and said Birdemic. So thank you, old housemate.
Cheers, Sylv.
Cheers, Sil. But it's okay because you're watching Romance on the Menu next week.
Fuck off! I knew this was coming anyway. Romance on the pissing menu.
Oh, and it's bad. It's not the best reviews on the Letterboxd.
All right, so Romance on the Menu. Birdemic is now struck off Stitch Up. No more shall it be picked or ever considered for Stitch Up. Okay.
I usually in advance go through my list and say what am I going to choose for you, and I've been trying to be particular to find it on a streaming service, and this is the first one out of my list that I found. It's not too bad. What I'm choosing for you is Get a Job.
Get a Job. You picked it on the basis that it's just meant to be a terrible film.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it says 2.1, which is not bad compared to other films I've got on Stitch Up.
Okay. For you, I am picking a film what is called Breaking Barbie.
This sounds great. This sounds like so much fun. Is it one of those films?
It sounds a little bit like a softcore pornography film, doesn't it?
Freaking Barbie.
It may be. It may be. I've watched a few clips of it, and it's a little bit saucy. I wouldn't count it as a, as a softcore pornography film, but it looks a little bit saucy. There's some sections where characters are removing various pieces of clothing, and that's both male and females. So it sounds like I've watched a lot of it. I haven't. I really just put it on to see if it's available, and I just skipped through it to see what it was like. Breaking Barbie.
Brilliant. I'm hoping that I'm losing next week.
I hope you lose as well, mate. So for the next poll, then, it's going to be Breaking Barbie for you versus Get a Job for me. It's my turn to put the poll on, so I shall do that. We'll definitely put it on the Twin Peaks Instagram at some point, but at the moment, I'm going to keep it on my Instagram.
Your personal, cool.
On my personal one, on my personal Instagram account, which is flick.face, that Instagram.com. Is that what you say? Is it?
.com.
You don't have to say that.
They say at flick.face.
At flick.face. As if I haven't done this 53 times before.
I
really should have this down by now.
You should.
I really should. But if you want to catch up with the show, it's at Twin Peaks Pod on Instagram, and email the show at twinpeakspod@gmail.com. Where can we catch up with you, Nicole?
You can find me on Instagram at Chica Nika or Nika Creative. And that's about it.
Au revoir, Mr. Norris.
Goodbye, Norris.
Thanks for listening, and we'll catch up with you next week. Bye.
Bye.